Some breaking news to bring you first. Reports from Egypt say a policeman has been killed in new clashes between militants and security forces which have been trying to retake an Islamist stronghold near Cairo. Well, local media say the trouble began when troops in armoured vehicles took up positions in Kerdasa before dawn this morning. State television says that dozens of weapons have been seized, including rocket-propelled grenades, as helicopters have been hovering overhead. Officials say the aim is to clear the area of what they call terrorists. The police have a list of 140 people. Well, last month, 11 policemen were killed at a police station in Kerdasa following the overthrow of President Morsi. Our correspondent Quentin Somerville is in the town of Kerdasa, and he told me more as to what was happening.
We've been here for the past hour, I would say. There are many hundreds of armed security forces here on the streets of Kerdasa, not far from the pyramids, but this area is an Islamic stronghold, if you like. Not many locals on the streets, though most of them are staying indoors. But the security forces here in heavy numbers, some with heavy weaponry, have been going house to house looking for Muslim Brotherhood leaders. We were here just last night and there was a large pro-President Morsi rally. So all of those huge demonstrations that were once taking place in Cairo have now stopped. But in places like Kerdasa, they still continue, but in smaller numbers. Well, now the security forces have come in. And part of the reason that they've come in here is because there was an attack on a police station. I'm actually standing in the ruins of that police station last month, in which a number of police officers were killed. Then the authorities said they would come to Kerdasa to find the perpetrators. They seem to be trying to make good on that promise today.
And there are reports that today a senior police officer has been killed. Anything more on that?
Yeah, I can't comment on that, but what I can tell you here is that we've heard sporadic gunfire. I wouldn't describe anything as an exchange of gunfire, but we've heard the occasional shot. Helicopters flying overhead. It does seem that the operation here, which was fairly considerable, I would guess maybe 200-300 troops, if not more, seems to be winding down. They're packing up, and a number of vehicles packed with armed police are now leaving the village.
Is this the first sort of set of serious clashes that we've seen recently, or is this actually happening around the country in different pockets at different times?
Indeed, it is happening around the country in different areas. Also, what you're seeing is there are still demonstrations going on, perhaps not the same kind of demonstrations that we saw in Cairo. There's tens of thousands of people at Rabbi el-Haddad mosque and elsewhere. But last night I would say there were a few thousand people here chanting President Morsi's name, defying the curfew, demanding his reinstatement and cursing General al-Sisi, the military leader who helped install a new government here in Cairo. So there are still areas of resistance in Egypt. Perhaps Cairo is a great deal more quiet than it was previously, but in areas like Kerdasa, they're still chanting Morsi's name and they're still challenging the curfew.
Quentin Somerville there in Kerdasa. With me is Mohammed Yaya from BBC Arabic. Just how significant is that to see this happening? I know this has been expected.
It's been expected for a while, and the background for this story is that in mid-August, after the authorities, the police and the army stormed the major sit-ins for the Muslim Brotherhood, where hundreds of protesters were killed, a couple of days later, the police station in Kerdasa was stormed by armed Islamist militants, and they killed about 16 police officers. And since then, there has been no police presence in the town of Kerdasa. So it's been expected for a while that the police will come in and regain control of the city. They suspect that there's a number of people who carried out the killings of the police officers are in the town, and they want to arrest them. So what happened at dawn today is that it was a joint army and police operation. The army sealed off the town, and the police forces stormed in, exchanging fire with armed...
What does this tell us, though, about the approach of the military now?
Well, at this stage, it's a security stage where the army and the police are trying to gain control and root out any pockets of armed resistance that the Islamists may have. And we're seeing a big operation in Sinai against the jihadi style Islamists there. There was several pockets in the south of Egypt, and but Cairo and the main cities are firmly under control, especially with the curfew that is in place.
And what about the Islamists, the Brotherhood activists? You know, what are they doing? Are they still getting support from outside? I mean, how long can this status quo be maintained?
All the top leaders of the Muslim Brotherhoods almost all of them now are in jail. Also, the mid-ranking leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood thousands of them are in jail. They're really reeling, and they have lost apparently the ability to rally support and organize demonstrations. There was news yesterday of planned sit-ins or protests in Cairo today and tomorrow. There was news earlier today of 2 explosive devices found on underground train lines, but these were defused, and according to local media reports, the underground trains are running again.
Okay, Mohammed, many thanks indeed for explaining all that. Thanks for that. We're just going to go back now to our top story of the breaking news we were getting in from Kerdasa in Egypt. Quentin Somerville, our correspondent, is there. Quentin, what have you been seeing and hearing?
Gita, in the last 10-15 minutes, an enormous gun battle has just erupted here in Kerdasa. The security forces seemed to be winding down for a while. They were packing up as if ready to go when suddenly there was gunfire. It seemed to be coming from on top of some of the buildings. They responded forcefully with heavy gunfire. We are now in an abandoned factory surrounded by the security forces who are heavily armed. They're taking cover. I've seen one person injured, looked like a chest wound. He was being taken away by the security forces. But it seems like a full-fledged gun battle is now taking place here in Kerdasa, though it has paused for the moment. But every few minutes it erupts again with the sound of heavy gunfire.
I should just point out that the pictures that we are seeing at the moment are not live pictures, but they were sent in to us a little while ago. Quentin, just bring us up to date on what's happened. Why is this security crackdown actually happening at all?
Kerdasa is a Muslim Brotherhood stronghold. You can still see posters for President Morsi all over this town, and in fact we were here last night and there was a rally for President Morsi's supporters, a few thousand of them, many who were defying the curfew here, which takes place at 11 o'clock at night. They were expecting that there would be some kind of movement against them, not just because they support the ousted president, but because, and I can actually see it from where I'm standing, there's a police station here right in the centre of the town which was attacked a month ago, leaving a number of policemen dead. Now, at the time, the authorities said they would choose a moment where they would come into Kerdasa seeking the perpetrators of that attack, those responsible for murdering the policemen, and it now seems they're trying to make good on that promise. But perhaps they're encountering more resistance than they expected, because all of the heavily armed police that I can see are behind walls at the moment taking cover.
And what about the people who live here? Have they fled the town, or are they inside those buildings that we can see?
That's a very good point. We've seen very few people on the streets. When we initially got here earlier this morning, they were staying indoors while the security forces went to a number of houses searching for Muslim Brotherhood leaders. We saw them banging on a number of doors, making their way inside, and we saw them carting off a few people. They grabbed a few people and detained them. On the streets now, as you can imagine, it's very quiet. The only people seem to be the security forces and a number of locals who were caught up in this while at work or on their way home. There are a couple of kids just to the side of me who've been told to wait here by the security forces.
Quentin, you said there were unidentified gunmen. Is it possible to work out which organisation they might belong to, where they've come from? Are they based in Kerdasa?
That's impossible to say. They were unidentified. I didn't actually see any gunmen, but we saw. It was clear that there was incoming fire. It seemed to be coming from above our heads, and certainly the security forces were firing back in that direction. We could see rounds bouncing off the walls and dust flying up from where rounds were making contact at the very top of buildings. Gita, it's also worth pointing out that this firing seemed to be coming from many directions. There was some confusion among the security forces about where they should actually take cover, and as a result, some moved back and then had to move back again and again. And as I say, we are now in what appears to be an abandoned factory building, surrounded by security forces who are just waiting, it seems, for the next round of fire so that they can respond.
Okay, Quentin, we have been looking at the live pictures there in the last couple of minutes. Thanks very much indeed. I know you are sending Twitter messages as well from Kerdasa. Thanks for now.